Blazers win again. That makes it 2 in a row against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The tallest French guy in Minnesota not able to get it done again despite 20 rebounds from Gobert. But man, Damian Lillard, 38 points, 11 of 17 from three in 29 minutes. Didn't even play in the fourth quarter, plus 24. He was an assassin out there, a total game breaker. Every time that it looked like Minnesota was starting to get some momentum, Lillard would hit one, two, three, however many threes in a row, and just completely take their legs out from underneath them. What did you guys think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if he had played in the fourth quarter, he would have been on a tear to break some records tonight. He looked like he had that little scare where it looked like maybe he got banged up, and I got a little nervous. Kirby and I both did. We were both like, not this again. But then he came back down the floor and he looked strong. I mean, that's like my takeaway from Lillard this year is that every time he comes up the floor, as long as he's healthy, he's in that like boxer mode, where he's just like ducking and juking and light on his feet. He looks really, really strong. This is what I was hoping to see earlier in the year when we were talking about MVP Lillard. If he was able to play at this level all season without the injuries, he would definitely be in the conversation. He still has time to get back in there if he keeps playing like this. But yeah, tonight was special.
The only thing that stopped Lillard this year has been his health. He's only had a couple bad games. I mean, he's had some turnover games, but like the only actual bad games, it's only been like two out of all the games he's played that I've counted. And tonight, I think what really unlocked Lillard, which was pretty interesting, a lot of his shots were catch and shoot off the ball. Like a lot of them were just he was coming around off a screen, not Curry-esque, because Curry's the best off-ball mover in the
One
NBA.
of a kind.
Yeah, but he was coming off the ball, coming up and catching and shooting, and he was just getting those open looks. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to get that many open looks against like a stout defense. But man, it looked really pretty when they were going in, and it sucks that he had this. This was the one time that I wanted it to be a closer game, so he could go for the record. And of course, we finally get a blowout, or basically our second one of the season.
Yeah, he was hitting a lot of those shots over the Minnesota Timberwolves defensive darling Jaden McDaniels too, their supposed stopper, and they had to actually switch him off of Lillard and put Austin Rivers on him there after he got like his 11th or
That's not
whatever.
a big upgrade either. Austin
It's
Rivers
not,
is
although
cement shooting.
I think Rivers actually has he has more experience guarding Lillard at least a couple of seasons ago against the Nuggets in the playoffs when they beat us. Those
When Lillard had the best game ever and didn't miss.
true. I guess
Austin
that's
Rivers
true.
was guarding.
But yeah, at least he's seen it before. Jaden didn't know what he was watching.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch, and I personally want to briefly, quickly touch on Yusuf Nurkic because the last game against the Timberwolves the other night, he looked awful. He looked very slow, step slow. Gobert was really kind of having his way in the fourth. Tonight, Nurkic played great. I know Gobert had a lot of rebounds, but Nurkic was hitting his rotations, rebounding. He was efficient, and he even took him into the post a couple times. And Rudy does not have the weight to bang with Nurkic in the post. So I think Nurkic played a good game. Credit where credit's due on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, he had like 14 and 16 on 8 shots and only played like 25 minutes right along with Dame. I mean, that's what more can you hope for out of your starting center? In the last game, like you said, it came down on Eubanks to come in and have a good game in order to cover up for Nurk. And in this game, Eubanks was really able to come in and just be kind of like a 1-2 punch. He had a good game again too.
He did.
Didn't play a ton tonight, but I mean, he looks good when he's in there. He affects a lot more shots than he blocks. Giving credit to Eubanks.
Yeah,
and that's something we've needed for a long time. So yeah, I'm really excited to see our bigs, our rotation at the center spot having a few good games in a row. That's nice to see.
Seems like with the start.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, and then talking about our taller players, we have to talk about Jeremy Grant too, because he had another nice game. He had a very efficient, 24 points on 12 shots. That's That's what he's been doing all season. But if he keeps doing it like that, he should be in the All-Star conversation.
He should.
And he should be able to help us make a serious playoff push.
He's shooting like 45% from three. I mean, and if the Blazers
6'9".
record, if the Blazers record is, in the top 5 or even 4 of the Western Conference, they should get a serious look at having both Jeremy Grant and Dame in the All-Star game. If Dame stays healthy, then that's a dynamic duo. They have Simons, Lillard, and Grant averaging over 20 points per game. I read a stat that that trio, that point per game scoring of Dame and Grant is like the 3rd highest trio since like the 70s as far as scoring goes. And I mean, obviously, I don't know if that'll remain the same because Dame's missed time and that's helped.
Yeah.
And games played will come into a factor, and didn't have that great of a game tonight, just kind of showing how that works. But just it's been fun to have 3 guys that can score at will this season.
Yeah, with all 3 of those guys back and with the starting lineup healthy, what I was going to say earlier, it also seems like the bench is just able to do a lot more when like Justice Winslow doesn't have to start. He's coming off the bench. He played a great game tonight. I thought 9 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds. He's a sturdy player. It seems like when he gets the ball in his hands, it's not gonna get knocked away from him, or very rare with the turnovers for him, and good rebounder. He's just kind of an all-around sort of good player. And then Shaedon Sharpe too, 7 of 12, 14 points. A lot of that was in garbage time, but still he looks like the best player in garbage time by far.
One thing that he's doing that's standing out to me lately that's becoming an asset, he's been cold from 3 lately. Been close, but he's been cold, but he's been crashing the boards hard.
Yeah.
He's been like elevating, because he can elevate like no other. He had a couple big putback dunks tonight. He's crashing the boards on defense, and I think he had like 8 rebounds or something tonight. If he keeps crashing the boards, and going to the rim, that shot will start falling. We saw some pretty mid-rangers near the end of the game. I mean, his shot will start going back in. If he can provide that hustle while he's not hitting threes, coach can't pull him out. He's got to leave him in there and let him play because he's been playing well.
Yeah, the thing about Shaedon is everything that he does just looks real pretty. And that's usually a pretty good sign. Usually guys don't have just the most beautiful looking jumper you've ever seen, and then it's just broken for their whole career. It's usually when they start going into the lab and messing with it that things get messed up. So he's just got to stay consistent. He's got to keep putting up shots because these are close shots, and he's just got to get the reps, get the confidence, and he's going to be a special player. Did you see the hang time on that layup? That was Jordan-esque. Forget Kobe. That was Jordan-esque.
It was. It really was.
Yeah. Beautiful shot. So we'll just touch on this for just a second. I don't know how much you guys will have to say about this, but what do we think of Minnesota after watching them for a couple games? Obviously, Karl Anthony Towns is hurt. They're really missing him, you can tell. But, Edwards, looks pretty good, if not inexperienced, I guess. Maybe just not quite fully, like, mentally, I don't really know how to exactly phrase. He's got all the skills, all the tools, maybe just hasn't quite put it together. D'Angelo Russell had a couple good games against us, but just not really enough. Gobert, the trade, it doesn't really seem to be working out so far like they thought. They still got a lot of time to grow if they can get healthy. But what do you guys think about Minnesota?
I mean, kind of like what you said. I think they should probably get some time to figure it out. And Towns being out doesn't help. D'Angelo Russell is really a Blazer killer because he's been garbage, well, not garbage, but pretty bad all season. And just the last couple of games, he torched the Blazers. He was hitting some tough shots. But I unironically think the Timberwolves miss a certain player, the playoff banner champion, Patrick Beverley, because he set the tone. He gave him energy. And, they needed that energy as that franchise. And I think they are actually kind of missing that energy in that tone setting. Whether or not, he fills in all the gaps of defense and scoring, maybe not, but just the culture and the energy. looks like they could have used some more tonight.
Yeah, and that was basically my takeaway from watching them play a couple games is it seems like they have a lot of good pieces. I mean, they weren't short on scoring. They were scoring 112 tonight. I think it was 120 or something the other night. I mean, they're scoring a lot of points. And it just doesn't seem like they're bringing it all together. It doesn't seem like they're really playing with a lot of energy. It doesn't seem like they're on the same page. They've had some turnover issues. Yeah, I don't know. They don't look like contenders at this point, but they're a new team. They have a lot to put together still. So it's always kind of fun for us to talk about because our one video had some negative response because we dared to question the genius of Minnesota's GMs.
Even though we didn't, we were super positive in that video.
I thought so.
Minnesota
We just had a
fans go to
couple questions.
Minnesota, I still love you. I think you guys can put it together.
Except for D'Lo, right? He's your
D'Lo. He's been bad this season. I mean, he had some good games against the Blazers. Maybe he's finally waking up. But
speaking of bad, Simons 5 of 13 tonight, 12 points. He's been off and on. When Lillard comes back, he's just kind of loses some of that trade value. Is he still going to be enough to trade for Jimmy Butler if we can pull that off?
I think he's shown a lot of scoring potential this year. And I mean, a couple of games ago, Damon Simons both scored over 30 points. I mean, it's not every time that it's like that. He had a couple open looks tonight that he normally would put down. And I think that everyone was spreading the shots around pretty evenly tonight. Like everyone was getting a decent amount of shots. Nobody was getting a lot of shots. So I think it would have evened out if he had a couple more shots, but you can't argue with how efficient everyone was. So I think he still has a lot of trade value right now. I think his contract looks like a steal, and I think Jimmy should be the target still. But I mean, I'm fine also waiting, but I'm just saying if you want to go all in with Dame, Jimmy is the target in my mind.
Riley, I've been waiting a couple days now to hear your response. What do you think? All in for Jimmy buckets?
It's a tough call because I see a lot of potential in Anthony Simons. But if they made the call and they wanted to do is just straight across Anthony for Jimmy Butler, it would be something you'd seriously have to consider. I don't really want to give up a lot of other pieces. The other concern that I have is just, the shots and having the ball in their hands and also the style of offense that they play. He plays a very mid-range game that's different from the spread the floor game that we have going right now. And I mean, we just have to retool the offense. And I worry a little bit about, who do we take minutes from and how do we mess it up by, taking Josh Hart out of the game. He's not going to have the ball in his hands as much. And it would be a big switch. We'd probably lose a bunch of games while we tried to figure it out, but it's a game changer. So,
yeah, I don't know. Some of that I agree with, but I think a lot of it, if you're just talking about a straight swap, Simons for Butler, he would kind of fit into the Simons role a lot of the time. You're right that he'd probably, I don't know. Yeah, Simons has the ball in his hands a lot, so
we would need to pick up another shooter or two.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like maybe getting one of their other shooters back, and we sent another piece back as well.
Like a Winslow for Robinson.
Like a Winslow for like a Gabe Vincent or something.
Oh yeah, I'd take that.
So those are the kinds of things that I think would come with time. But we just saw Dame have an awesome game off the ball most of the night. Like imagine Jimmy being the playmaker to Dame, and then if Dame's not open, Jimmy just takes over. Grant's shooting 45% for three. I just think it would be perfect. And on defense, I don't even have to make the argument about how big of an upgrade that would be in a culture like defensive shift. That'd be Chauncey's perfect player, I think, Jimmy. So it would just fit in on that side so well.
Give me Jimmy and Max Strus. I'll take those guys.
The Strus is loose. That would be nice. I mean, if the Blazers are going into the season, into the trade deadline, and they're hanging around the top four of the West, and they're starting to figure out the defensive side, keep rolling with it. But if we're at 7th seed and we want to just kind of take a swing, I think you can go for it too that way.
I think you have to go for it if it's available. My question is whether or not they're gonna be willing to part with Jimmy. He's just
Right. That's
Such
why I
a
said if they struggle bad, because
yeah.
they've been pretty bad this year.
Yeah, even if they are though, he's just such a franchise player. But yeah, if we could make that move,
Right.
I'd say I wouldn't hesitate. Thanks for tuning into our post game reaction. Our apologies to Mike Barrett. We ran out of time tonight. He'll be on in the next show. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.